Hello, everyone. I'm Sean,
This is Hoon?
and we're here for a series review. We're going to be talking about season 4 of Stranger Things.
Yes.
So now that both volumes have dropped, we can discuss the whole season as a whole.
Yes.
And apparently, this is, I think, the most watched show ever. I saw something on Twitter. It was trending or something that it was like it was either Nielsen ratings or something like that. It was like this is like the most watched streaming show of all time.
Yeah, 'cause I think it was like 7.2 billion hours or something. It was like some
Yeah,
insane amount.
it crashed Netflix for
Oh, did it?
like an hour or something. Because I remember
Great.
when the episode dropped. The episode dropped at 3 a.m. Eastern time, and by like 3:05 a.m. Netflix crashed like nationwide.
People are watching it like at 3:05 a.m. It's like
Yeah,
we're watching this at
a
3 o'clock at night.
ton of people were watching it at 3 a.m. and it crashed the servers or whatever. And there was a bunch of really funny memes floating around because Stranger Things is one of those shows that the fan base's meme game is on point.
Yeah.
So it was like immediate. They were doing the Eddie Munson. We'll talk about who these people are, but Eddie Munson in episode 1 when Chrissy gets killed by Vecna, and
Yeah.
she's like seizing out, and he keeps shaking her, and he's like, "Wake up, Chrissy! I don't like this."
Yeah, I don't
Everybody
like
was saying that on Twitter. They were like, "Netflix, I don't like this. Wake up!
Yeah. Wake up, Netflix.
Wake up, Netflix!" It was pretty funny, but I didn't have a problem watching it because I was in Japan, and so it
Yeah, I watched it kind of in the afternoon, so it was already probably after
right. It was only
after all
down
those problems.
I think it was up after like the first hour or something, but
Mhm.
it was a kind of funny, amusing side note.
Yeah.
Started off. So anyway, yeah, this season was very popular apparently.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed the season quite a bit. So
Yes, yeah, I did too. So it is a pretty drastic. I don't know if it would be a drastic departure from other seasons, but it does do things differently. Well, first off, the season itself is split into two.
yeah, and they're long episodes.
Yeah, very long episodes. The season's split into two, which I still don't necessarily agree with where they split it.
Mhm.
I think they should have had the first 8 episodes together.
Yeah.
And then this last episode should have been released as like a movie event.
Yeah. They probably should have done that. Even though that last episode there was a spot in the last episode where they could have cut and made 2 episodes, but the only problem with that final episode would have only been like 40 minutes. But
right, a final episode would have been 40 minutes, and it would have just been wrapping things up pretty much from
yeah,
the rest
pretty
of the
much.
episode. So, but yeah, 7 was a weird place to cut it, in my opinion, because 8 ends with them getting ready for the final battle, and then it just goes in. It was weird. But anyway, the other way it's different is that the team is split into 4 subplots.
I think it goes.
There's Hawkins, there's California, there's Russia, and
then
California splits into 2.
Yeah, it's like 3 different plot points, but then the California plot point gets split even further.
Right.
Because you have 11 doing her thing to trying to get her powers back, and then the stoner group is going
the stoner van,
the stoner van's going to trying to find 11.
The mystery van.
Yeah, they meet up later on. So
right,
I guess we could probably go through each story. Like,
yeah, that might be
right. I guess
instead of going episode by episode, it might be easier just to go by the story beats.
Yeah, because the one good thing about this season is at the very end, it does they do all kind of tie together pretty well.
Yeah, so. It all comes together in the end.
Yeah, so
because they all play a part in the final battle.
Yeah, even though they're like split up, they still were able to get their hand in that final battle at least a little bit.
Yeah. So the main storyline, as always, the Hawkins group
Yes.
Is the main thing, and the new threat in Hawkins is this like Freddy Krueger-esque villain called Vecna.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is he's killing kids, going into like a dream world state or whatever and killing them, and every time he kills a kid he opens a gate.
Yeah.
And when he opens 4 gates, it's supposed to like end the world or whatever. Like the upside down is going to bleed across into this world.
Yeah, and in one of the episodes, he kind of shows like Nancy his plan. Basically, he's like, "Tell 11 this. Tell 11 what's gonna happen," because he still remembers that. Because we'll learn, like you learned that later on, but
right, because 11's plot is twofold. It's one is she needs to get her powers back, and then the second thing is finding out who Vecna is.
Yeah, who Vecna actually is.
And it turns out Vecna is somebody that has been there since the very beginning, since before the very beginning.
Yes.
Because this season begins in 1979 when 11 was like 6 years old or something like really young.
Yeah.
So
while you're like, they're in like that rainbow room or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like the first scene in the episode, I guess.
Right. Yeah, so it kind of starts with that. It has a flashback, makes you think that 11 murdered all of her like classmates, if you want to use that term.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know what they're called.
Experiments.
Yeah, fellow experiments.
But it actually turns out that the one who killed them was the guy that became Vecna.
Yeah, and it kind of shows how he became Vecna, kind of. So
right. Everybody's kind of trying to find out who Vecna is and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's basically the Hawkins plot. We're introduced to a new character. So Eddie Munson.
Yeah.
Who kind of runs the D&D club.
Yeah, the D&D club's like Hellfire. And I think this is like during this time period also was happening. They had something called it was like they saying Dungeons and Dragons was like a satanic cult thing, which actually did happen. That's like not not fake or anything like that. So
that was the thing in the 80s. There was the term for it's a satanic panic.
Yeah.
And it was this thing that happened in the 80s where, because this is like Reagan era, so you have these hardcore conservatives and they were freaking out about metal music and Dungeons and Dragons and like drug usage and all that kind of stuff was some kind of gateway to Satanism. And Eddie Munson is kind of the meeting point of all of those things.
Yeah.
So he very quickly becomes a target because he's like a metalhead, has like a garage band. He is like the dungeon master for the Hellfire Club, which even calls it the Hellfire Club. And he also sells drugs.
Yeah.
In the school. I sell drugs to the community.
Yeah, he's the Reefer Rick.
Yeah. Well, there is a Reefer Rick too. But the satanic panic warned everybody about.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting dynamic because we find out that the girlfriend of the basketball team leader, Chrissy, is trying to cope with a lot of shit. And
because she's having like headaches and stuff.
Well, she's seeing things. She's having all kinds of problems, and we find out these are symptoms of Vecna's curse.
Yeah.
And she's also dating an actual top tier douchebag.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that had something to do with it. So she goes to meet with Eddie Munson to get drugs.
Yeah.
And then she ends up in his trailer. And then she becomes the first victim of Vecna.
Yeah, she's the first victim, which is that's a pretty gruesome scene where they're like, she's like, her arms and limbs are like breaking and snapping. You hear like bones snapping, and like her mouth is just like,
it's very
dislocating, and then her eyes pop out, that's kind of like a point, like a plot point you find out in the story.
Yeah, Vecna does that to everyone. It's kind of like reminiscent, like I said, Nightmare on Elm Street. That's a common theme that comes up a lot. It's very reminiscent of the first kill in Nightmare on Elm Street, which is extremely gruesome.
Yeah.
Where like Freddy takes that woman, he like throws her up on the ceiling and drags her across the ceiling and is like slicing her up and stuff.
Yeah.
Like this massive like shock thing. And then the franchise never is able to outdo that. But here, yeah, that's what he does to people is he like levitates them up in the air and then breaks all their limbs and then plucks their eyes out.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then when he does that, it opens up another gate.
Yeah, which is what he's trying to do.
So that's kind of the plot in Hawkins. And we find out that Mike and Dustin and Lucas were all in the Hellfire Club.
Yeah.
But Lucas also is on the basketball team. So he's like trying to balance this, like, I want to be the cool kid, but I also have my nerd friends.
Yeah. And well, because Chrissy died in Eddie Munson's trailer, people assume that he's just the killer.
Yeah.
So everyone's trying to find him a lot of times. So you had him, and then like the basketball team is trying to like, it's like almost like a mob or something.
Yeah, they create like a lynch mob.
Yeah, it's like trying to kill these kids, like trying to kill kids again.
Yeah,
kill these kids.
And then and Lucas is caught in the middle of it because he's like in both worlds.
Yeah, he's like the nerdy kid that wants to be popular because he gets like. He even says that he doesn't want to keep getting like made fun of or something like that because he does like nerdy thing. I guess I could say nerdy things.
Yeah, so that's kind of the element there. Max gets dragged into it because she lives in the trailer park where Eddie Munson lives. So
and she's been having headaches and stuff like that too. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, she's another potential victim down the line.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nancy's still there. Nancy's working at the school paper. I was actually shocked that Nancy's still a high school student.
Yeah, I was like, is she still? I thought she was like outside of high school at this point. But
like, okay, but she's working at the school paper. And then Lucas's sister ends up in the Hellfire Club as like a substitute for Lucas because Lucas doesn't show up because he's got a basketball game.
Yeah.
So that's how she gets dragged into it. So that's the Hawkins team, pretty much. And then, of course, Steve and Robin still work at the video store from season 3. And I think that's everybody in Hawkins. The California crew is Joyce moved out there at the end of last season because she thought Hopper died. Everyone did.
Yeah, and I think it was saying we need to get out of this area because that kind of like it leads in from season 2 or season 3.
Oh, it kind of season 2 ultimately because she planned to move anyway.
But Hopper was like, I don't want you to move.
Yeah, because like ever since Bob died in season 2, she was thinking about moving.
Yeah.
And then he finds out in 3 that she's gonna move, and then she was probably gonna stay, but then Hopper died, quote unquote died.
Yeah.
And so Joyce ended up taking 11 and her kids, Will and Jonathan, and they all moved out to California. So this takes place at spring break, variously either March or May.
Yeah.
Depending on which version of the show you see.
Yeah.
And so Mike goes out to California to visit Elle during spring break. So he ends up over in the California crew. So he's in the first episode, he's in Hawkins, but then after that he pieces out before anything actually happens. And then Jonathan's stoner friend Argyle.
Oh jeez, yeah,
is the new character.
I would say the California part was definitely the weakest.
Oh yeah, for sure.
By far the weakest story thread they had. I would think definitely. And part of it is because Argyle is not like I didn't like Argyle at all. Yeah, he was such he was like a useless character. I don't know.
Yeah, and Jonathan becomes a useless character.
Yeah, Jonathan was like he's like a pothead. Literally is a pothead.
Yeah, they really screwed up Jonathan in this season. And then the last major subplot is Hopper in the Russian prison.
Yeah.
So it turns out he's alive. He's in a Russian prison.
And kind of shows how he's alive, because I guess when the third episode, the end of season 3, where the thing explodes, I guess he jumps off the little.
He like fell on the floor.
Yeah, he fell or something. I don't know what he did. He did something, and then I guess it didn't blow him up. It killed everything else but him.
I thought when I saw season 3, like I thought he survived because he somehow got sucked through the portal.
And yeah, I thought so too.
In reality, he just fell on the ground.
Yeah.
And then got grabbed by the Russians.
Yeah.
So he's over there. Joyce has her paranoia moment of the season. She always has one.
Yeah.
She gets a box from Russia, just like a weird Russian doll. And you break it open, and there was this weird like ransom note.
Yeah. Talking about Enzo and the date, which that's a callback to third season?
Third season, yeah.
Everything was like the third season, I think.
Yeah. So she gets help from Murray, who of course can speak Russian, and
because he's the only person who knows how to speak Russian in the United States.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. So they discover that they have to go to Russia. They make contact with this go-between dude in Alaska, Yuri. He's like this sleaze bag. And so they decide to go there. Joyce tells everybody that she has a business for her telemarketer job.
Yeah.
It's like maybe not a great cover. I don't think anybody buys it.
No.
Except for maybe Mike, because Mike is like thick as a brick in this season.
Yeah.
He's fucking stupid.
And Argyle and Jonathan, because they're both stoned.
Yeah, but they're stoned out of their mind. Mike's just dumb.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Mike like has issues with context clues. But so that's basically Joyce ends up leaving pretty much.
Yeah, because I guess that their whole plot was like, I guess it said the ransom was bring $40,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
It was 40,000, right?
Yeah.
Some sort of extravagant
sum of money
with them.
Yeah.
To meet Yuri, which Yuri's like
Yuri's an asshole.
Yeah, Yuri's like an asshole. Like really badly.
He's Russian.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much that subplot, the California plot line.
Yeah.
And so Mike goes to visit Elle, and Elle has been getting bullied really badly.
Yeah.
In high school. And so like Carrie level stuff. And it actually would flat out be Carrie at one point, except for she doesn't have her powers anymore.
Yeah.
And so, but she's been lying to Mike for some reason. This is one reason I didn't like the California plot, because she's like lying about being friends with the popular kids. Like Mike would care.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know. And Will keeps telling her, like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you lying to Mike? Why are you like this?
Yeah, why you do this?
Will is like the voice of reason always.
Either Will's like still
set. Just gets screwed over by everybody.
Yeah, he gets kind of like in the corner. He's like put in the corner.
Yeah, no one cares about him still. And he just goes through like a bunch of trauma this season, like every season.
Yeah.
His whole life has just been trauma.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Elle gets bullied at school, and then she goes to the roller rink with Mike because she goes there all the time.
Yeah.
Apparently. And because she's like, Mike's like, do you come here often? And Elle's like, yes. And then Will's like, no.
Yeah, Will's like, no.
And then Elle's like, Will does not, but I do.
Yeah.
It's like, do you? Because for some reason she's trying to say that this bully that's picking on her all the time is like her best friend.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's like she's
that
picking on you.
Right. Like that, like Mike wasn't gonna find out that's a lie.
She's like, they literally destroyed your like project that was like a very personal project of yours.
Yes, that personal project where she made about her dad and the squirrel.
Yeah. They just literally just stepped on it and like destroyed it and made fun of it like really badly.
Right. So there turns into like this Carrie bullying scene, And then Elle gets revenge on the girl that was picking on her by bashing her head in with the roller skate.
Yeah.
Which has major consequences down the line because she ends up getting arrested shortly after Joyce goes on her business trip to Alaska.
Yeah. And at the same time, I think like the government or something was seeing these killings in Hawkins. So they're like,
they think Elle's doing it.
Yeah, Elle must be back, even though they thought that Elle was dead because I guess Owens has been trying to protect her. Doc Owens was trying to protect her this whole time.
Right.
So like, where's she at? There's the one guy, the one general, I guess. I think it's like a general or something like that. He's like, where is she? Basically, you see him every time. He's like, where is she? He's always just going around telling people where is she?
That's his whole purpose in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Elle gets arrested, but then obviously the rest of the group try to get her out of prison, but they can't. They need the Guardian, who is currently going to Alaska. And so Elle gets midway through, she gets picked up by Owen's people and taken to this research facility in Nevada or something.
Yeah.
And then the other group,
and that starts the split between California and Elle's story. So Elle's thread is starting here, like the splits here.
Yeah, she's off on her own. And the rest of the characters are like trying to well, initially they can't do anything because they end up under like house arrest.
Yeah.
For protection. Because
Owen's people
are protecting them from the general's people that are going to try to come to find out where Elle is. And they leave these two agents behind with them, but they get attacked.
Yeah.
And the one agent
get like gunned down. It was like,
although the fat dude was like fucking John Wick though. Like,
yeah, I know.
He was taking down like soldiers left and right. And they end up escaping via Argyle in his pizza van.
Oh jeez. Argyle smoking his purple tree or whatever.
I don't know whatever purple palm tree delight or something.
Yeah, that is always smoking.
So they escape and then they try to find Elle. Some reason they end up going to see Susie in Utah.
Yeah, because I think when the guy that got shot, John Wick, got shot.
Yeah, when John Wick got shot.
Yeah, he was like, Nina. He kept saying Nina, and then he was gonna tell him where. He's like, go find Nina or something like that. And they're like, oh, why is this pen not right? Why did he give us a pen that doesn't write? They're like, oh, the bright idea was let's open the pen up and see. And it gave him a coordinates or whatever. And he like a hacker.
Yeah. So they need a hacker, so they figure it out. They go find Susie, who invented the internet.
Yes. Pretty much.
And she lives in a crazy hellscape with like 3,000 siblings.
Yeah, because she's like a Mormon, so
yeah. Right. And one of her kids is like a degenerate caveman. One of her brothers. I know.
Like a degenerate caveman. The one kid is like just keeps turning. That's the one that keeps turning the power off and on.
Yeah. Another one
burning the house down and everything else.
Another one is filming pseudo snuff films.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing in there?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But eventually they figure out the coordinates. They find out where the facility is. And then they go over there and like they're gone. They're doing that for like hours. Like it's like literally 2 episodes before they show up again. Oh, it's a while. And then they don't find Elle until episode 8, so volume 2.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't like the California crew the first volume, because their storyline goes nowhere. Like it takes until until volume 2 for their story to actually get somewhere.
Yeah.
And they just exist just to give Elle a ride pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
And get to the pizza place so they can use the salt.
The salt, yeah, that's pretty much.
From the salt bath or whatever. From the pizza freezer or something. Yeah. Which there's a line at the end or something where she's like, I traveled here from the pizza freezer or something. It's like,
yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? That's what Max is like, what are you talking about?
Pretty great. but I can't remember the line exactly, but I'm sure it's going to turn into a meme. And yeah, so that's basically California Crew. Elle spends the entire series just trying to get her powers back.
Yeah, because like you find out Dr. Brenner is there.
Yes.
Like that's like he built the facility knowing that she needs to like get her powers back, I guess.
Yeah. Papa.
Yeah, Papa is still there.
Papa is there, and he doesn't get along with Owens. They're always clashing all the time.
Yeah, because Owens is more like your, I guess, your traditional science. Yeah, you're sane. He's trying to protect Elle scientists, and Dr. Brenner is kind of like your mad scientist.
But you almost need him to push her beyond her limits.
Even though he really wasn't like the mad scientist. I mean,
he kind of was and wasn't.
Yeah, because he was like,
he claims he cares about Elle, but he only cares about Elle because she survived the experiments.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because he was trying to replicate. Because it turns out, you find out that Vecna actually is one of his experiments, his first experiment. It's 1. L's 11. They're all by number. And so 1 is Vecna.
Yeah, 1 is Vecna, which is Henry.
Yeah. And he was like the original experiment. He had these insane telekinetic powers and all that kind of stuff. Basically the same powers.
But he was like he was like a delinquent. He was like, I don't know what type of kid. He was like some sort of psychopathic kid though.
Yeah, he murdered his family.
Yeah, he literally was killing animals and stuff. He was like, when he was learning how to do it, he was killing all these animals and stuff like that. Because he was like, how can I do this? Like, right. But he could see in their mind, he was like twisting people's limbs and stuff.
Yeah, and he killed his mother and sister.
Yeah, because his mother was thinking, I guess she was talking like his mother was kind of had a hunch that he was doing this.
Yeah.
That's so he's like, I had to kill him because of that reason.
And then the father only survived because of he heard music playing.
Yeah, he heard the music, and then the kid also like he didn't realize how far he could go.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of basically tired himself out.
Yeah. So then the father ends up like in an insane asylum because everybody believes he murdered his family. And it was actually the son.
And this is part of like the Hawkins crew trying to find out who Vecna is.
Right. Like we said, it all bleeds together. So like Elle's storyline, we find out who this guy is, but Hawkins is fine. Well, I guess Elle's storyline, you find out about 1.
Yeah.
Hawkins, you find out about Vecna. And then at a certain point, you find out that they're the same person.
Yeah.
So it like comes together. You're seeing 2 different aspects of the same character.
Because I think Elle is always having these nightmares and stuff because this keeps doing that traumatic, like almost like PTSD almost.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Dr. Brenner's like theory is the reason why you lost your powers is because you're kind of like keeping them lost because you're just remembering.
Afraid.
Yeah.
Of like what you are. Well, she
thinks like another. What's that?
She thinks she's a monster.
Yeah, that was like another theme. She keeps saying that I'm the monster.
Like Mike sees her as a superhero and she sees herself as a monster.
Yeah. Because she's like, I have all these things and everyone just keeps dying or whatever because of me.
Right.
Type of things. Like, no, you're not. You're this kind of like the savior.
Right. Yeah. The whole world's going to die if there isn't 11.
Yeah.
Which is what they're trying to do. So so her whole plot line's pretty easy to sum up. It's just learning to get her powers back, discovering who 1 is. That's basically it. And then the army guys come to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And so she escapes with Brenner's help eventually.
Yeah. When Brenner tried to lock her in that room.
Yeah, roundabout way, he eventually decides,
I'm not letting you leave because you're not powerful enough to kill 1.
Right. The whole plot basically is Return of the Jedi. Or not Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, where Luke's on Dagobah training with Yoda, but then he senses that his friends are in danger, so he abandons the training early.
Yeah.
And except for Yoda in this case is a psychopath.
Yeah.
Who roofies Luke
refuses to much.
Allow him to leave.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, but in this case, Brenner has a change of heart when the base goes under attack. he takes her outside, but there's a helicopter out there with a sniper. Dude
killed all the scientists that were there. And
they murdered all the scientists. He shoots Brenner, and then Elle has like a dampening collar on her or whatever, preventing her from using her full extent of her powers, but she's still able to use her powers enough to down the helicopter.
Yeah.
And then after that, the stoner crew reunites with her.
Yeah.
They arrive, they pick her up, and then they take her to the pizza place so that she can use her powers to get into the minds of people back in Hawkins and kind of remotely fight Vecna.
Yeah, because she can go through their memories, and because Max is still marked by Vecna.
Right. And then the last thing to talk about California crew, because that basically wraps up the California
team. That's literally the California crew's like
whole
thread
storyline. I think it's the easiest one to talk about. And then the only other thing is that Will has a subplot. So Will made this painting at the beginning.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what it is. He keeps it hidden. But he takes it with him everywhere. So it's obvious he wants to show Mike what the painting is. And as time progresses, it becomes very obvious. They don't flat out say it, but it's pretty obvious that Will has a thing for Mike. Like, that's what but it's been implied that Will's gay since the first season.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising, but he has this really emotional scene. Like, I thought it was pretty sad. The scene in the van when he shows Mike the painting and tries to explain it to him, but he's like talking in third person as if it was Elle when he's really talking about himself.
Yeah.
And how he sees that Mike is like the heart of the group and all that kind of stuff. And really he's trying to like profess his feelings to him or whatever. But Mike's, like we said, Mike's stupid as hell. So he doesn't quite understand. And, but he inadvertently inspires Mike thinking that Elle commissioned this painting.
Yeah.
Even though Elle doesn't even know what's in the painting. And he inspires Mike indirectly, but then he can't actually say what he wanted to say. So he's like silently crying to himself, which has been Will's default mode for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So that scene was pretty poignant. I mean, it doesn't do much for like the overall plot, but it was an interesting, like, emotional character moment.
Yes.
And the thing with Will too, though, is like, I'm not even like, they make a big deal about his sexuality or whatever, like the fandom does. The show doesn't. The fandom does. But I'm not even sure. Like, okay, yeah, he has like gay leanings or whatever, but I'm not even sure if it's that. Like, I think Will might also just be asexual too, and he just has this like strong bond with Mike as like best friends, and the fact that Mike's been ignoring him and just blowing him off for like the whole last year
pretty much
has really damaged him. And on top of that, the Hellfire Club, something we mentioned before in another video that was really funny, is that you said at the end of season 3, Will like donates his D&D game and stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Because he's like, oh, I'll just use yours when we see each other again. And they're like, well, aren't you going to join another party? And Will's like, not possible. I can't. I wouldn't be able to play without you guys. Yeah. And then the moment Will leaves, these guys go join Hellfire with Eddie Munson.
Yeah, I know. Like, we'll still play, whatever.
Will's like wallowing in his sadness in California, like yearning for the day that he could see Mike again. And meanwhile, Mike's over there playing D&D every day with the Hellfire.
Yeah, I know.
Writing letters constantly to Elle, even though he can't say he loves her. He's just like, from Mike, which pisses her off.
From Mike.
He can't do anything right. Like, he pisses off. He's like screws up everything.
Yes, pretty much.
He's terrible with both Will and Elle. But that is the California subplot, essentially.
Yeah, that's literally the whole subplot for California.
Pretty much all there is for California. So I guess the next easiest one, probably the easiest one to describe overall, is the Russian subplot, because it's literally just one thing.
Yeah, because it's like a continuous story for the whole time anyways.
Yeah, so Hopper, like we said, he survived the end of season 3. He got captured by the Russians, and now he's like in this gulag in Siberia somewhere.
Yeah.
And so he got the prison guard, which I can't remember the prison guard's name.
Yeah, I don't remember it either.
Yeah, whatever his name
is. Corrupt prison guard.
Yeah, he gets him to send the message to Yuri.
Yeah.
Who sends it to Joyce. So to get that whole connection going. Or rather, he sends the message to Joyce, and then Yuri's the go-between.
Yeah.
To get Hopper out of the prison. So that whole subplot is literally just a prison break.
Yeah.
Until they get there. So Joyce and Murray, like we said, they go to Alaska. They get Yuri to take them to Russia, but of course Yuri betrays them, and he tries to sell them out, but they end up with a big fight on the plane, and they end up crashing the plane because Murray is an expert in karate.
Yeah, pretty much. Black belt in karate, beating up teenagers.
Yeah, he's been fighting teenagers in his karate class, but that's good enough to defeat this Russian scumbag.
Yeah.
So, because he has bald eagle style karate.
Yeah, pretty much.
So they down the plane, and then they kind of drag Yuri. Using Yuri, they sneak into the prison.
Yeah.
And they manage to basically bust Hopper out. But there's a twist. You find out that they have a Demogorgon at the prison.
Yeah, at the facility.
Yeah, and it turns out that this is a prison, but it's also like a research facility for upside down creatures.
It kind of reminded me of like Resident Evil or something, actually.
Yeah, especially in volume 2, and they have like all these like vats with tons of demo dogs in them, and
one of them has that little the mind flare
piece of the mind flare in it. Yeah, so that was kind of the subplot thing, because they do escape from the prison, but then they realize that because they eventually find out that there's a big danger with the kids back home, and they decide that they need to break back into the prison to kill the creatures.
They kill the mind flare.
Yeah, to kill because the connection between the creatures and Vecna, because Vecna, like everything else in the Upside Down, is like has like a symbiotic relationship with all the other creatures of the Upside Down. So if you kill one, it like damages them all.
Yeah.
So he goes back. Hopper goes back with Joyce and Murray, and they break back into the prison. And it's a big elaborate fight scene thing. Eventually, Hopper ends up killing the Demogorgon and some demo dogs along the way. Hopper kills the Demogorgon with a sword that's just lying on the ground for some reason.
I think they burnt him all the demo dogs and the Demogorgon with the flamethrower.
Yeah.
And then I think it must damage it enough to where he can just like kill it with a sword or something.
So you can kill it with a sword that I don't know why their sword was there.
Yeah, a sword was just literally just random.
It was like a fantasy sword too. It wasn't even like a real sword. It was like
it was like Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, it's literally a Conan the Barbarian sword is just lying there in the prison. But okay, so he decapitates the Demogorgon, which helps the other guys in Hawkins defeat it, and that's basically all they do.
Yeah, I guess the mind flare, because the mind flare goes into the actual demo dogs and the Demogorgon.
Yeah,
and we know that the mind flare particles is like from the third season, or was that the second one? That's second and third.
That's like second and third. Yeah,
it's like if you destroy that thing, it like kills all the demo dogs and does enough damage to everything else.
Right. Yeah. So that's pretty much what happens.
Yeah, that was pretty straightforward plot point.
Right. And they eventually return home in Yuri's crappy helicopter thing.
Yeah.
And so that's their plot. And then back to Hawkins. So everything else is Hawkins.
Yes.
And this one's the most complicated storyline. So Hawkins, we talked, Chrissy got killed by Vecna, started it off. Eddie ends up on the run because everybody obviously thinks he killed Chrissy. And the basketball team creates their own little vigilante lynch mob.
Yeah.
And then the team gets together to try to find Eddie to protect him.
Yeah, and they want to kind of find out what happened from Eddie himself.
Right. So that's how they end up going to. They go to try to call a bunch of people. Max and Dustin get together and try to find all of Eddie's contacts. And then they go to the video store where Steve and Robin work. And with their help, they're able to find Reefer Rick.
Yeah, because they were like, who's Reefer Rick? Reefer Rick's his contact to get his drugs.
Yeah. And then through him, they're able to find where Eddie has been hiding out.
Yeah.
So that they can get to Eddie and they can protect him. They find out what's happening with what killed Chrissy. And then meanwhile, Nancy is investigating the situation as well, using her role as like the reporter at the school paper.
Yeah, because I think they go over, because after the first murder, so when Chrissy dies, they're like, Nancy and the school paper try to go over to the trailer park or whatever, but that one kid that she's with is like having also the nightmares and stuff like that again.
Yeah, he's the next one marked. And he was another student that I think was going to the counselor.
Yeah, he was going to the counselor as well. I mean, he had the same symptoms like headaches, nosebleeds, nightmares, everything else.
Yeah. So that was Fred.
Yeah, Fred.
So they go to the trailer park to investigate some stuff. And Fred wanders off into the woods and he gets killed by Vecna. So that's number 2.
A second story. Yeah, second death, I guess.
Second death. Third one, we find out that Max is marked.
Yeah.
Because Vecna seems to go after people that have a lot of intense trauma.
Yeah, or that's some sort of trauma. Or
we know a bit about Chrissy's thing. Fred apparently was like in a car accident and got people killed or something. So
yeah, Chrissy, I think Chrissy must have had she must have bulimic or something.
Well, Chrissy, I think, just had a lot of issues.
Yeah.
And then Max is targeted next. But we find out that he also targets one of the other basketball team members.
Yeah.
At the same time. So I guess he could target more than one person at once.
I guess since it's been going on for so long, they probably just from the headaches and stuff.
Right. So he goes after Max. Goes full on after Max. And Nancy eventually ends up finding a little bit more information. She talks to somebody in the trailer park. I think it's Eddie's uncle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Eddie's uncle, because Eddie's uncle said something about this. Reminds me of the murders when he was younger. Yeah, because the eyeballs were popped out and everything else.
Right.
And the limbs are broken.
Yeah, so she finds out about the Creel house, which is kind of this almost haunted house or whatever that's in Hawkins, where they have these murders back in the 50s. And which, of course, we find out later on was one, or Henry or whatever.
Yeah. That
was doing it. But she finds out enough. She ends up with Robin investigating. They go to the insane asylum where Victor Creel lives, the father.
Yeah, the father, because he's went back. He just went to the insane asylum. They just put him in there.
Right. He's been there since the 50s. And he, of course, is played by Robert Englund, who's Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And he tells them information, And Robin puts two and two together eventually and discovers that it's music that prevents him from getting the mental connection to fully kill his victims.
Yeah, because that was one reason why the father survived, is because he had that song about the angel. I don't even know the song.
It was some song that he heard in France during the war.
Yeah, and it was like one of his favorite songs or something.
Yeah, and it like pulled him out of the trance that Vecna had him in.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do that. They find out that the whole team gets together, and Lucas ends up joining the team again over time. He was with the basketball guys, but he ends up escaping from them and getting to the rest of the group. So pretty much the whole group is together when Vecna attacks Max. So everybody's together. Steve, Dustin, Lucas, they're all with Max. And Nancy and Robin are at the asylum, but Robin is able to use their communication, their big receiver or whatever, to get the message to Dustin that you have to play their favorite music or whatever to block it out.
Yeah, like something that's emotional music for them.
Right. And Lucas helps because Lucas knows what her favorite song is, which is Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush, which is now everybody's favorite song.
Yeah, pretty much.
The internet's favorite song now. And so she gets levitated up into the air and she's about to get snapped, but then they play the music and it is enough to get her out of Vecna's nightmare.
Yeah.
And so now we know more about Vecna's plan, though.
Yeah.
And they try to go into the Upside Down to go after Vecna in the house. But they need to find a way into the Upside Down. They eventually figure out one of the portals is in the lake.
Yeah, because it's like because before in that season 2, this is like when it's connected to other seasons. Because season, I think 2 or 3, you had like whenever they would attack something, they would have they like leave a portal behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they find out it's like maybe these things are still attacking things. Maybe they're leaving portals behind.
Right.
They're doing it.
So they find out that there's a portal in the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go out there. Steve, Nancy, Robin, and Eddie go out in a boat on the lake. And they find the tear at the bottom. Steve jumps in to investigate. He ends up getting pulled into the Upside Down by like these tentacle vine things.
Mm-hmm.
He gets attacked by the bats, which is a new thing this season. Demo bats.
Yeah. They're all controlled by Vecna.
Yeah. So they attack him, but then the other 3 go and rescue him. And he gets pretty tore up, but he has this really badass like King Kong Hulk moment where he just like grabs one of his bats and slams it repeatedly on the ground and then rips it in half.
Yeah.
It's like Steve just goes full King Kong on the bat.
Yeah.
But so they come back from the Upside Down. They figure out a way to get back through. Because
I think about the trailer or something, because like where people were dying is where they realized that that's where all the portals are coming out.
Yeah. So they're able to make a connection between the real world and the Upside Down.
Mm-hmm.
And they're connected. They're communicating with like Dustin and Erica and like all those guys. And they're able to jump back through. But then right before Steve and Nancy are the last ones. And of course, Steve and Nancy start having like a reconnection.
Yeah.
Kind of romantic type thing going on between the two of them because Jonathan's a stoner and doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want to go to college anymore because I smoke too much pot.
I just want to smoke pot. So Steve has had a complete 180 since season 1 because he went from being the biggest jerk to MVP of the franchise.
Yeah, pretty much.
And now he's the best mom out there.
Yeah.
So he's protecting his kids. So, but right before they're about to go through, Nancy gets grabbed by Vecna.
Yeah.
And we also find out that earlier Vecna killed one of the basketball players.
Yeah.
When they were about to get Eddie when he was on the boat. And so now 3 are dead. There's only 1 left. And you think it's going to be Nancy because that's actually how they ended part 1.
Yeah.
Was Nancy's in the trance. So then part 2 starts, and it's really weird because Vecna just shows Nancy what his plan is and then lets her go.
They're like, show 11 this, tell 11 what's going on.
Right. Which I thought was a little weird, kind of anticlimactic, but whatever. And so I don't know what Vecna's doing in the meantime. He's just like
he's sitting at the house.
He's just sitting in the house doing nothing. Because they have to goad him into attacking the next victim. So is he just going to sit there? Like,
unless he's marked some people. I guess because he's marked Maxine, like Max, like this whole time. So
he had Max marked, but I guess they were afraid that he would mark somebody else, and they'd have no way of.
Yeah, I think they wanted you can't have someone else dying because of me.
Well, that not only that, but the fact that if it's somebody else, it would be some totally random person that they wouldn't be able to track.
Yeah, that's true.
He just kills somebody and open a portal.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand why he didn't just kill Nancy and open the portal when he had her.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew what song to play. So he could have, but for whatever reason, he's like, show 11 my plan.
Yeah.
And so Max is the one that decides to use herself as bait to try to entice Vecna to come after her again.
Yeah, that way they can. This is when they're planning on what to do, like how to get to Vecna and like how to kill him, basically.
Yeah, so this is the plan. So Max is going to be bait. Dustin and Eddie are going to distract the demo bats.
Yeah.
So that Steve, Robin, and Nancy can sneak into the Krill house in the Upside Down and attack Vecna directly.
Yeah, because they know because of 11, if she's like doing her like thing, kind of in her own trance, she doesn't know what's going on around him, so they can just walk. They literally just walk up and like just stab him or something.
Right.
Which that was their plan, is to throw Molotov cocktails at him and like shoot him with a sawed-off shotgun.
Yeah, pretty much. Which they buy all that stuff at like this like Arms Depot place.
Yeah.
Which apparently is the place to be in town because literally everyone's there.
Yeah, pretty much.
The basketball bullies are there. Robin's crush is randomly there.
Yeah.
They're all there. Everybody in town's there. But so they go there, they get all armed to the teeth, and that's basically the end of episode 8.
Yeah.
And then episode 9, they enact a plan. 11 knows about the plan because she was able to do her astral projection thing.
Yeah.
And find out what they were planning, but she knows that if she doesn't intervene, they're going to get killed.
Yeah, because I was like,
Vecna's too powerful.
You're just going to run in there and try to kill them without your superpowers here.
Yeah, and Max is like, oh, I'm going to, you can just pull me out.
Yeah, because she's
at
like,
any time.
It's not really, he's just using your memories. I could just make up a new memory.
Right. And you could just play the music and pull me out. But while she's in the trance,
I like Vecna is like, I know what you're doing. He's literally just like, I know what you're doing.
Right. But they can't use the music to pull her out because that jackass Jason, who's the basketball team leader, comes in, thinks Lucas is in some satanic cult, starts a big fight with him, pulls a gun on him. And then during the scuffle, he steps on the Walkman and destroys the tape. So they can't play it for Max. So she's stuck in there with Vecna. And Vecna is about to kill Max. And then 11 finally makes it because she's transported through the freezer of the pizza place.
Yeah, she's piggybacking, I guess.
Yes, piggybacking from the pizza place.
Yes.
And she has a fight with Vecna, but Vecna overpowers her too.
Yeah.
And then it's a combination of everything. So the whole thing comes together in this final battle because the Russian team weakens Vecna a little bit by killing the demo dogs and the Demogorgon and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The California team is the reason why 11's there, but 11 gets super powered by the power of love.
Yeah, because Mike's like,
Mike finally,
I love you.
Mike finally friggin' says it.
Yeah.
So that empowers her enough to overcome Vecna again, but Vecna very nearly kills Max. In fact, he does kill Max.
Yeah, he does.
But
that was actually kind of surprising using Max as the killing one to get killed, but I guess not surprising, but
it
was pretty effective.
She is and she isn't. It's kind of a gray area because he broke her limbs, but he wasn't quite able to gouge her eyes out, so he didn't actually kill her. Like her heart stopped beating for like a minute.
He gave her the brain aneurysms, I guess.
Yeah.
And he didn't actually kill her.
But he didn't actually kill her. Like, she's physically alive, but we don't know where she is mentally because like 11 at the end can't find her.
Yeah, 11 had to use her power to keep her heart pumping, I guess.
Yeah, 11 like revived her or something.
Yeah.
But she's like in a limbo state now at the end. And so they think they defeated Vecna because then while that's all happening, Robin and Steve throw Molotovs at Vecna, and then Nancy shoots him out the window with the shotgun.
Yeah.
But then when they go outside, the body's gone.
That was like a Halloween moment there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like a Halloween thing. And so Vecna lost, but Vecna also won.
Yeah, because he got basically the fourth kill off, and that opened up all his portals.
Yeah, opened up all his portals. So at the very, very end, we have the wrap up where everything's all happy, sort of.
Yeah, Eddie Munson's dead.
Yeah, Eddie does die. Yeah, we forgot about that.
That was a death. That was actually the major death.
That was the major death. Yeah,
Eddie Munson was a pretty decent character. So
yeah, that was the major death that I think a lot of people are that's gonna hit a lot of people really hard because Max, she's still kind of not dead.
Yeah,
she's dead but not dead. And I think if she was dead, they'd just kill her.
Yeah,
like they wouldn't just be like, oh, she's in a coma. So, but yeah, Eddie sacrifices himself to try to divert the demo bats from attacking Steve and company.
Yeah, because he always like that was like a kind of like a theme with him because his thing was, I'm Eddie the Banished. I always run away, even though it was like and I play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like this hero, but in real life, I just person just runs away all the time.
Right. And this time he makes a stand. He plays Metallica's Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
Which will probably be the #1 song now, alongside Running Up That Hill, because that was back again. So now you got 2 1986 songs to listen to.
Yes.
And yeah, he diverts Dustin like breaks his leg.
Yeah.
Falls through the portal to try to get back to Eddie.
Yeah, because Eddie's
falls through.
I'll divert them away.
Yeah. Not important storyline, but can we talk about how Steve does the most badass like front flip out into the upside down ever when he goes through the portal?
Oh yeah,
that was friggin' awesome.
Yeah, he just like does this flip down.
He just does it so cool and casually too.
Yeah,
and then the rest of the team just flop through the portal.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, they fall on this dirty mattress.
They almost impale Robin because they put down the trash can with all the nails in it, and then it's just laying there on the mattress.
Yeah, I know.
Like Dustin or somebody grabs it real quick, and then Robin comes flying through and plops on the mattress. But yeah, Steve's just turning into like ultimate badass.
Yes.
There were a lot of people thought he was gonna die this part, and thankfully he didn't.
Yeah, they're probably like rioting in the streets.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody's safe in season 5 because it's gonna be the last season, so there won't be any reason to keep anybody alive.
Yeah,
but I'm glad that he's at least made it to the final season. But we get the reunion for all the characters pretty much in Hawkins. Hopper comes back, Joyce is back, everybody's back in Hawkins pretty much. And then we get the big reveal at the end that Vecna's alive because Will can sense him.
Yeah, Will can still sense him. And then the Silent Hill fog comes rolling in, I guess.
Yes, the Silent Hill fog comes in. It's snowing, but it's not. It's actually like the ash or whatever is that's floating around the outside.
I don't know what that is, actually. I don't even know what that is.
It's like particles or something.
It's like killing everything it's touching, though.
Yeah, it's almost like color out of space or something.
Yeah.
Where it's like contaminating everything. Yeah. And it was this giant earthquake that happened when the gates opened up. And everybody...
the Gate of Hell.
Yes, everybody in Hawkins thinks there was just a big earthquake in Indiana because that happens.
There was a satanic cult.
Yeah, satanic cults just unleash 7.5 earthquakes in Indiana all the time.
Yes.
So, which that scene at the shelter was weird because where Eddie's talking to or not Eddie, Dustin's talking to Eddie's uncle and telling him how he sacrificed himself and he died fighting or something. And it was like, wait, he died fighting an earthquake? Like,
yes.
It doesn't quite mesh with the story that the media is telling. Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. And then at the very end, you find out that it's bleeding through. The Upside Down is here.
Yes.
In our world. And the whole team is together, but like 11 is looking, she checks this flower that's like wilted and died completely.
Yeah.
And then she's looking into the abyss, and there's like this fire that's just like coming out of the ground in Hawkins.
Yeah. And it's doing that like lightning storm or whatever. Yeah.
And that's how the season ends.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, so we'll talk about, I guess, what we think is going to happen in season 5. So first, let's we give a rating for season 4.
See, I like season 4. I'd probably give more like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, I would say 9. 9 at least.
That was a pretty decent. It was a pretty decent season.
Yeah, like is it like in all good faith, if we're gonna give like Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes 7s and 8s,
yeah,
this has to be like a 9, almost 10.
Yeah,
by comparison, if we're gonna be fair.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I do like this season a lot. I don't know if it's my favorite season, but it's good. Actually, I think all the seasons are equally good, except for season 2 has one episode that nobody likes, but everything else about season 2 is solid.
Yeah, my favorite season is still probably season 3 is probably my favorite.
I think 3 is my favorite too, but 4, I do like a lot of. This was the most cinematic for sure.
Yeah,
they really went up on the drama and like all that kind of stuff. 3 had a tighter story. This one got a little bogged down with all the subplots and everything.
Yeah,
especially California.
Yeah,
but yeah, overall it's pretty good. I'd give it like a 9.
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
I think all the seasons are like a 9 or 10.
Yeah, Stranger Things is one of those shows that it's consistently been good, with the exception of that one episode.
Yeah, in season 2, but like you can literally skip that episode and it doesn't do anything.
That's what I did. I rewatched the season. I just skipped over it. I think it's like episode 7 or something.
8.
8, and I just like skipped over it. And I was like, it had nothing to do with anything. You can still watch the series without even watching that episode, and you still understand what's going on.
Right? Yeah, it's weird. And that season's weird because it's like they knew that episode didn't mean anything because they gave it 9 episodes that season instead of the usual 8.
Yeah.
Because they had a throwaway episode and they knew it was a throwaway episode.
Yeah.
Because I did watch it when I did the rewatch and there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
Like episode 7 of season 2. Sorry, we're off on this tangent about season 2. But episode 7 on season 2 is like it ends with the demo dogs coming up out of the ground into the lab. And then episode 9 begins with the demo dogs coming up out of the pit into the lab.
Yeah.
So it's like if you just skip 8, you lose nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just weird. But everybody says season 2 sucks. but it's only because of that one episode. And if you just ignore that episode, it's just as good as any other season.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one was the most cinematic, the most dramatic of all of them, for sure. Higher production values. This season also is supposedly at what, $30 million an episode or something crazy.
Yeah, it was quite a bit.
So yeah. Now talking about season 5. So we know that season 5, there's also going to be a spinoff, which we don't know what the spinoff's about. We talked about that on our podcast. But season 5, I have some questions, because the Duffer Brothers said that there's definitely going to be a significant time skip between season 4 and 5.
Yeah.
But how?
I'm not sure.
Because it literally ends with like Hawkins and Ruins getting pulled into the Upside Down. Like, it feels like the sequel needs to be like 10 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Not 4 years from now, or whatever they want to do. Because
yeah.
Unless it's going to be like in this post-apocalyptic wasteland where the real world and the Upside Down have been merged together or something for the last 3 years. It's going to be really weird, because like, why would Vecna stop?
Yeah, unless he's like needs to like get his powers back, but you'll still have everything spewing out everywhere.
Right. Like, nobody's going to notice this. Like, people are still going to think it's just an earthquake where the town's like on fire.
Yeah.
How long is it before the hordes of demo dogs and demogorgons and stuff start pouring through the streets?
Yeah.
Which they said was going to happen. Nancy said in that vision, she saw like the armies of Vecna like going through the streets of Hawkins and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, why would he stop to let them recharge? And like I said, if he does stop, there's still this like gaping hole in the world that anyone can see.
Yeah.
So it's bizarre that it's going to end there and that there's supposed to be a time skip.
Yeah, it has to be like, I think at most probably like 6 months.
Yeah. But they said it was like significant, like years.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay.
Unless it's like supposed to be post-apocalyptic, which
right. But even that's weird too, though, because presumably all the characters would survive, which is going to feel contrived. Because if any of them die off screen in the interim period, people are going to be really pissed off.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Like, you can't kill like Steve or somebody and be like, oh, he died in the Upside Down a year after it began or something. Yeah. It's like, what? You can't do that. Yeah. But it's also going to be really weird that every single one of them survived 5 years in the apocalypse or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be unbelievable too. So I really don't know where they're going to go with this.
Yeah, that one I'm not sure at all.
Unless we do have the time skip and the spinoff is telling us what happens in between or something, but that would be weird. That would just be another season of Stranger Things, though.
Yeah. I think they say they want to focus on side characters or something.
Yeah, it's probably characters we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah.
Or never will, because they may be characters they just invent for the spinoff show.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's I guess our thoughts on Stranger Things season 4. Unless there's anything else you want to add to it.
No, I think we've got everything pretty much.
All right, so that, like I said, that's going to be our review for Stranger Things. Let us know in the comments section what you thought of the season as a whole. Presumably everybody's seen it by the time they see this video.
Yeah.
And hopefully, because this is definitely spoiler heavy.
Yeah.
The whole plot. But if you liked the video, leave a like. Consider subscribing for more content like this in the future. And thanks for watching. See ya.
See ya.